Today's date is Monday, June 24th, 2020, and this is the City of Romulus City Council Special Meeting Study Session. And this meeting is to review and discuss the application submitted for the 2024 Honorary Street Sign Dedication Program. At this time, Mr. Chair, we will have a roll call. Councilwoman Abdo.
Here.
Councilman Barden.
Here.
Councilwoman Roscoe.
Here.
Councilwoman Talley.
Here.
Councilman Wadsworth.
Here.
Councilwoman Williams.
Here.
Councilman Wilson. Mr. Chair,
Here.
Council, we have a quorum for this special meeting.
Thank you.
Tonight's special meeting agenda is as follows. Number 1, roll call. 2, agenda. 3, discussion. 4, public comment. And number 5, adjournment. And a motion would be in order to accept the special meeting agenda as presented.
So moved to accept the special meeting agenda as presented. Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Talley, supported by Ms. Abdo. Motion to accept the study session agenda as presented. Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
All right, thank you, City Council. We are now in discussion, and this is to discuss for you all to discuss the 2024 Honorary Street Sign Dedication Program applications that were submitted. The clerk's office received a total number of 11 applications during the application period, which was from April 1st through May the 6th. After your discussion and review of the applications, should council decide to approve all of the applications, then you will have to, at the regular meeting, take 2 actions tonight, which you would have to amend your policy. Just want to remind you, your policy states, it set a limit of 5 stated in your policy. So if you decide to approve all 11, then you would just have to make entertain a motion to amend your policy to approve the applications to exceed your 5 limit application as you have set in the policy, and then the second motion would be to approve those honorary street signs in which you all determined that you want to approve. Okay? So now the floor is open to council for you all to discuss the application submitted, and we have provided copies of every applicant we have submitted.
Discussion from council. Any discussion?
I
Ms.
have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Pertains to the gentleman talking about the addresses. So which addresses are we talking about?
So, well, I guess when we get to the public comment, I mean, we can talk about that. I spoke with Mr. Robbins, here it is, and I guess I'd rather him tell his story about the buildings that, the houses that his father built. He built several houses, but the street, I guess the last resident or address where his father lived was on Sterling. And if you look on the application, it says that he would like his, the street sign on Sterling, I guess across from McBride. I did explain to Mr. Robbins that he could only have one sign on one street. He can't have, yeah, that would just be, you know, that street. So he has expressed that they would like the sign on,
Sterling?
I guess Sterling and McBride.
Okay,
And then later, Mr. Robbins wanted to share some history about his father. So it's quite interesting here.
I appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're going to-
yes. I'm looking at these, I want to ask, I'm not for sure who I addressed this to, but on the one for Ron and Debbie Diggs, how do we handle that? Because it's 2 individuals. Can 2 names go on one sign?
That's a good question, Councilman.
Can I interject it? 'Cause that's the
They
one-
were married, so Mr. and Mrs.
Well, you have to be careful with the wording because the sign, they said, from what I was told, is only long enough for so many letters, so,
I guess maybe it would be double, 2-line, a name here, a name there. I don't know, I would have to double check with DPW to see how they would do that. I'm imagining, and I saw that they would put both names on the side, one up top, one up bottom, so that we'd have both names clear. That's what I assume, and I'm thinking that that's what they're
that's what they
probably
would do.
going to do.
Okay, because I would rather see their names instead of Mr. and Mrs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And also, up under Miss Rupert, it's going to be impossible, I would say, because she lives next door to Miss Webb's home. So we definitely have to honor Miss Webb with her sign. Is it any way possible we can just put her in line for next year? Because we can't put two different names.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, that would be,
So I'm speaking with the council, what do you guys think?
it's up to
Okay
you
with
all
me.
to decide.
Because Miss Rupert lives actually right next door to Miss Webb's home, and so we would be looking to put two different names.
Who Ms. Rupert next?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So, Councilman Williams, I am going to ask my deputy to chime in here too, because he did such a good job in putting this report together for you all, of the honorary street signs. So, I guess at one end, closest to Councilman Webb, I guess one sign would be like on Moore and Goddard, and the other one would be at the other end.
No.
But it's up to you all.
Yeah, I'd rather for her to get
You
both.
all decide
The
that.
whole, from
Yeah.
one end to the other, as the other ones had before.
That's totally, that is totally up
That's
to you
what I
all
say.
to decide. I'm not, we're just here to help facilitate.
And then, I was looking and I had a lot of residents calling, they wasn't happy about the police, dang, what do you call it?
The
Background
vetting,
check?
approval.
Yeah.
Why would they be happy
Just a
about
minute, let me see what you call it.
the police review?
Pardon me?
The police review? They
Yeah, the
review?
police review.
Yeah.
Good evening, council. I can speak on that. So what the police department does, they do what's called a records clearance check. So they are only reviewing in their Clemis software if the individual or the honoree has had any interactions with the police department. Now, they are limited in their search because they can only search through other police agencies that utilizes Clemis. Not every agency in the state of Michigan utilizes Clemis. So it's just a search to see if they had any interactions, and they would just report back if there was any type of interactions, and then we will present that to council. The main focus of the Office of the City Clerk and any administrative departments that had a role in this is just to review the face of the document. We don't review the substance of the document. That's up to council to review the substance. And the substance is if they had any historical impact or any significant contributions, that will be up to council to vet that out and determine, but we only review the requirements and the criteria in order for it to go before you, which is if they were a registered voter, and that normally gives us a clue as to the length of time they have stayed in a particular residence. But what we found out is that if an application is submitted posthumously for an honoree who have since passed, their voter record is purged, so there's no way for us to review or confirm voter registration.
And I think even with the voters registration, because you may have some individuals that may be presented to us that may be a Jehovah's Witness that don't have it. I don't think whether there was a registered voter should be included in the process. One of the residents brought that up.
And I know, council, it has been discussed with council that there's a desire to have the policy to be reviewed. And in
Yes.
that case, we can request a study session for that to be reviewed. Tonight, unfortunately, because the notice only specifies the review of the application, we can only review the application and not really do a deep dive into the policy because it wasn't noticed for that.
Okay,
All right, is there any other
Thank you.
questions from council regarding this? The report that was submitted from the clerk's office and any supplementary information included in that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I definitely, whenever it's necessary, we definitely need to set a special or a study session up to review the policies to update this, do the requirements.
You can have such a request before council at the next regular meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, council.
thank you.
Any other discussion from council?
John,
Ms. Abdo?
perhaps when we do review that, maybe we should have some sort of criteria checklist. I mean, right now, I could not pick out who I wouldn't want, my attitude is if they all want signs dedicating to someone who had something to do with Romulus, I'm supporting it. You know, but if we have to decide if we want to limit it, or,
That'll be up under that discussion.
well, we actually have to decide that tonight, if we're going to stick with the 5, or if we're just going to say, hey, they all look good to me, and let's go with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Ms.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And if we go with all of them tonight, maybe we can look at, once, whatever number we come up with, once you get that many applicants,
Yes.
then maybe we need to cut it off. So it's fair to not only the applicants, but to us who are choosing, because it's so hard to choose. I mean, it's hard to choose between all of, everyone here deserves it more than anything.
Well, the one thing that our office runs into is that, again, we do not review the substance of the document, only the face. So therefore, if us reviewing the face of the document, the applicant or the honoree meets the certain criteria in order for it to go before you, and you find that the substance does not meet the measure that you may have set, then it also disenfranchises those other applicants or those potential applicants who could have submitted an application if we just cut it off
That's
and we
true.
say 6 applications and our office stop accepting applications, which is why we keep the application period open so that that determination can be handled by council.
That is true.
But then even under the discussion, and we can go through that when we have the study session, in updating or making the requirements much more clear, maybe that'll help. You know, because once they apply, if they're not meeting those specific requirements, then you already know. But last year it was 6, this year now it's 11, so we have to do something to,
Because
so
it
we
is
can
growing.
discuss that,
It has
yeah.
been growing each year.
John?
Mr. Wadsworth?
I certainly don't want to have to take anybody off this list, I mean, and I kind of go along with what Celeste said. Maybe next year we pick a figure, 8, 6, whatever the number is,
Don't take it.
and when the number 8 comes in the clerk's office, that's all, we just can't accept anymore.
I agree.
Your policy currently states 5, so if you just want to amend your
Well, whatever.
policy, I mean, that's what it is now.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to bring up, I know Councilman Williams, you brought up with Councilman Webb and also Ms. Rupert, both living on Moore Street. The good news is that they both, Ms. Webb is between Bibbins, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ms. Webb is between Goddard and Bibbins, so she would have a street, and Ms. Rupert is all the way at the other end on Grant.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
Because
positive, I'm looking at it right now. I'm
okay,
looking
let's
at the
make sure if
maps.
that's the case, there's no problem.
Right, right.
But
So-
I do know Miss Rupert, the Miss Rupert that I know of, the mother lives directly next door to Ms. Webb.
I
Now,
was
the
just-
daughter might live somewhere else.
I was just looking at,
The application?
yes, the application that was submitted, and I just, submitted the address, and I'm looking at the map. So it looks though, the address submitted for Miss Rupert is towards, is going south towards Grant. So she lives between Bibbins and Grant going south, and then Councilman Webb is Goddard going south up to Bibbins.
Then it
So
will-
one could be on one side of the street, like the north side of the street of Bibbins and Moore for Miss Webb, and then south side.
You're looking at the one that says Elaine Rupert?
I believe that's,
Because I
make
thought
sure I
this
got
was
the
what I
right
seen.
one. Yeah, Elaine Rupert. If I look at the bottom, please list the city address that she resided. We have 11091 Moore Street. And when I pull it up in Google, in the map, I'm looking at a map here, and it's, I'll double check that, but that's kind of.
Because the application is clearly saying Moore and Goddard, or Moore and Bibbins.
Right, and then we would just have to make a distinction on that, because,
Yeah,
I mean, I
let's-
know
let's-
what they're saying, but we have to look at what the map is saying.
Yeah.
In order to be fair, and I realize both of them, Ms. Rupert was 90 years old, and of course, Councilwoman Williams, which we have to, honor, so it looks as though, and we could, what we
Yeah,
can do is double check with DPW to be sure, and so that one side of the street, of Moore is dedicated to Ms. Webb, and the other side to Ms. Rupert. So we'll double check, just to make sure.
Yeah, because
Okay.
one thing I don't want to do, what we have been doing in the past is allowing the recipient to be at the beginning of that block to the end of that block. So we definitely don't want to cut Ms. Webb short.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because I'm looking at the application, it's, what is it, number 7 or 9? I think it's 9. Yeah, 9.
She's 7. Looks
She's
like a
7.
9, but 7, yeah.
Because 8 is before that.
Yeah, she's 7.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, and it's just saying, that's what I was looking at, it's saying the same. thing.
Yeah, she has, Goddard for Moore and Bibbins, and then we have Moore and Goddard and Bibbins. So it would have to be on one side of the street, Moore for Miss Rupert, and then the other side of the street.
It's only a sign on one side of the street, though.
I see what you're saying. I thought there were 2
No.
on both corners. Okay, then we could just talk to DPW and see
Yeah.
which one works. Okay.
I just was looking at that because that can be,
No, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely right on that. You're absolutely right.
Yes, John? Oh, thank you.
Ms. Abdo?
Has it been determined what the final cost is going to be?
Did they determine?
Because I know the $25 was a registration fee, and then they have to pay DPW, whatever. I didn't know if that stayed what it was.
They had not really gotten back with us to tell us their cost yet of what.
How will these people be notified then?
That's what they've done in the past. I'm going to
One
let
thing-
John.
Right, so the cost to produce the sign is $25 for each sign. So if we're talking for one side, you're looking at $50 because it's one side of the sign, the other side of the sign. Now, that's just at one corner. Now, if we're talking at both corners, now the cost comes to $100 because the policy does say that it is the responsibility of the applicant to pay for the cost to reproduce the sign. Now, and it also states for installation and the uplifting of that, of the particular sign. So, the city has been absorbing a lot of costs because last year, I believe the costs that DPW incurred for the last year's signs went up northward to over $500. So it will be DPWs that will be reaching out to the applicants to let them know of what the cost of the sign will be and to schedule unveilings. Hopefully, they can schedule the unveilings all at one time, all on one day, and that's a cost saver for DPW. But each sign is $25, and one side, I don't want to say one, I guess I would say one intersection or one side of the street, you're talking $50.
And see, this is where I'm having a problem, because we started off at one fee, and this is what the folks, I think this is our third year doing this, and it was a total of actually $50. I'm looking at the DPW, and I understand that they're gonna, install the sign, but they're at work, so they still doing work. We shouldn't add to, as the years move forward, we shouldn't add to the residents when we're actually in a position of awarding them. So, because the cost is, I know last year it was up to the tune of $50. Now, for what you're saying, it's gonna be, did you say $50 each sign?
If we're having a sign
Double-sided?
on each side of the street to each
Oh, no.
intersection,
Yeah.
then you're talking $100, because it's two signs for each side, I would say.
So a double-sided sign would be the
Be
total of
$50,
50.
yes.
Yeah, see, we need to work something out with that, because
And this could be something that will be discussed at the study session.
Yeah.
Because currently in the policy itself that, again, council approved, it states that DPW cannot set up the signs after hours.
Right.
That the cost of the reproduction of the sign has to be within the business hours, and that cost is forwarded over to the applicant. Again, we have not, as of today, forwarded those costs, the true actual costs over to the applicant, just the cost for the sign itself, because it's material and everything that the DPW has to pay for, and then has to get resupplied for.
And I think we will bring that up in the discussion, but I don't think we need to move forward with charging. We are awarding them, we are honoring them, and to add more fee for them being honored, to me, is not fair to the residents. It's not a whole lot that we give them. So I think that's something important that we need to discuss in that session, that study session.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr.
Madam
Chair
Clerk.
and Council. Going back to Ms. Rupert and Ms. Webb, I stand to be corrected. I kind of looked on a different map here, and I'm trying to get an aerial. You are correct, Councilwoman Williams, that that Ms. Rupert does live
Next door.
a few doors down, like 2 doors down from Ms. Webb, so that would be a
Yeah.
conflict. I don't know how you all would make that determination or approve her for
Yeah,
next
next
year.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be fair to put her, if she lives between, and I apologize, I
Yeah.
guess I was looking at this backwards, but, so both live between Goddard and Bibbins.
Yes.
So it would be unfair for both, to,
Who the other one in the following
yeah,
year?
one would have to be at Goddard and more, and the other one at Bibbins and more. But like you said, you've been honoring the whole street to those applicants. So it would just be up to you all to determine, award for the street sign to go to one of the two, and then, just a suggestion, maybe award it for next year. We know that since Ms. Rupert is in, and maybe next year it can go up. It's a suggestion, just however you all want to do it would work. So my apologies on that. I'm trying to look at these maps for you, just to make sure I got clear.
Any other discussion?
John?
Ms. Abdo?
Maybe we could approach one of the families and tell them we have 2 people wanting that, and would one of them want to wait till next year, they'd be the first to be. If we go by who submitted first, so Rupert submitted first. I just, because these were put in the order they were submitted, am I right, Deshaun?
That's correct.
So, I guess we have to decide, you know, I know that we're honoring Eva, but maybe someone could talk to the Rupert family or Eva's family.
John,
Yeah, Mr. Wadsworth.
would it be possible to put, you know, Eva on this side of the street and Rupert on the other side of the street?
No, no way, because there's no sign on the other side of the street, so you
Well,
would
she'd
have,
have her own sign.
no.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well, if
sure
you say
Ms.
no,
Rupert
then it's
would
no.
understand if we gave her a call, and Elaine would. They live next door, they was neighbors forever, so I'm sure they would understand.
It's just, it's totally up to you all
Yeah.
to decide. Whatever you all decide, then that's how we'll move, we'll move forward.
Well, then maybe we could put Eva and a street sign, and Mrs. Rupert and a street sign across from each other. Or,
Be nice if somebody from DPW was here. Because I don't know, that's kind of out of my vertical here.
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is decide, are we going to take all of these, or are we just going to stick with the policy we put in place? The first 5. And from then on,
But we were supposed to
We'd say we
kind of
take all
go
of
through
them.
this during the study session,
Yeah.
make all of these decisions in the study session,
Yes, as
So
long as
tonight
no
we're
action
just-
is taken.
trying to decide.
When is the
Yeah.
next study session?
No, this
No, we have
is
to
the study
decide
session for
this
you all
tonight.
to decide, and then you'll just, whatever you decide right during this period, then at the meeting, you guys will just vote on what you all decide now. You just vote at the regular meeting. It's on the agenda.
so we have to decide, first of all, if we're sticking with our former policy of 5.
Okay.
And that's the first thing we have to decide. And then we can figure out the other logistics on stuff.
Okay.
I would
Discussion.
suggest
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
that we move forward. We accepted the applications. We should accept all of them. Have a conversation with Ms. Rupert to see how she feel about allowing Ms. Webb to go this year instead of next year, so both of them can benefit from having the full block, instead of one get one half of the block and the other one get the other half. Other than that, everybody that's in here, even though it's more than 5, I agree to approve all of them with that stipulation of having a conversation with Ms. Rupert.
Any other discussion, comments?
I agree. Yes, thank you, Brother Chair. I think everybody who's been brought before us today in this packet deserves the memorial. 9 people, 10 people, whatever the case may be, I'm in agreement that they all are definitely deserving. Again, with the exception that the Rupert family
Yeah.
are consoled and talked to
Yeah,
and
we just-
see if they're okay with the determination. One goes this year, one goes the next year.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think
Yeah.
How about the
I
rest?
think everybody should be happy with that, hopefully.
Any discussion on that? Ms.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I agree. I think we should accept them all and talk to the Rupert family and explain the situation to them. And then when we have our study session, discuss a cutoff, like 8 or something. And then for some reason, if someone doesn't meet the criteria, you're still going to have 5, 6, or 7 street signs for the year, a notable amount. And then that way it'll, because I could see it growing every single year now that people are more aware of it.
Yeah.
And, we put the notice out early enough so they can
Yeah.
get their applications in. Because it's just difficult. I mean, just looking at the list, you're like, how do you put one over another?
Yeah.
All very notable reasons to have their street signs
Yes.
and be honored.
Any other discussion?
That's it.
So then, to be clear, is that the consensus is that you are approving all 11 applications that are submitted, then with the exception of Ms. Rupert for her approval to be in 2025, next year. So they're approved, so they wouldn't have to resubmit
Right.
an application. They're approved, but Ms.
somebody
Rupert
talk
would be approved
Yes.
for 2025, since we have 2 applicants on the same street. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Absolutely.
You all consent, and then, like you said, and then you will have a study session to discuss some changes to, revisions to your current policy. And again, the current policies, you guys, is a limit of 5, so you just want to,
Yeah.
increase that. Is that everybody?
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
so then tonight's council meeting, then you will approve
The application.
the revisions to accept all 5, approve all 11, applications, and that you're amending your policy to do so.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, all right.
Spot on.
Is that good,
Yes.
council?
That sounds-
Is there any more discussion on this?
Any other discussion
No?
from council?
We're good? Okay, well, then that takes us to public comment, and we do have family members from one of the recipients that's here, and Mr. Larry Robbins, and is a lifelong resident, and he has a lot of great things to share about his family, his father. So, Mr. Robbins, if you could, the podium. We're now in public
Hello,
comment, I'm
council.
sorry.
My name is Larry Robbins. My dad was a lifelong resident of Romulus many years ago. He built several houses, as you all know by the list you have. He actually lived in 4 of them. 3 of them were on Sterling Street, which one of them I live in right now. He was duly elected constable by the township of Romulus citizens back in roughly 67, 68. Romulus had 2 police cars at the time. One was a 65 Ford, one was a 67 Chevy. And they were parked behind Grange Hall uptown. The reason why this building is here is because Blaine Road was going to be the new downtown Romulus. Never happened.
Yeah.
But that is my story. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than willing to answer.
Any question from council?
Thank you for the education of your father and the history back then around us.
Well, the only thing I forgot to bring with me is I still have at home his ID card for when he was elected constable
Wow.
for the township of Romulus.
All
I left it at home. I apologize for that.
That's all. Thank you. Good
Thank you
story.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
And to the audience, we are on the agenda. We're at number 4 in public comment, and this is a portion of the agenda. I know some of you just arrived, and this is a portion for those of you who are in the audience, and if you would like to address council concerning this subject matter on the honorary street sign, you may do so. Just raise your hand, and after you've been acknowledged by the chairperson, approach the podium. You have up to 3 minutes to speak. And any additional time, just ask the chairperson. So is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak? I'm sure you all hear about the honorary street sign?
No.
Family members? No, okay, that's all right. But we just didn't know.
Any other comments from the audience? Any? If there no more comments, Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The agenda calls for adjournment,
So
and the
moved.
time is 7:07.
So
A
moved.
motion by Mr. Wadsworth, supported by Ms. Roscoe, for adjournment. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We are adjourned. Our regular council meeting starts at 7:30.
Okay.